Greg, you're sitting down to speak with Fritz right now. Tell me what the key focus is. What's behind the conference call announcement?
Well, the key point is everybody knows the key emphasis of General Motors is they've got to increase market share. They've got to increase sales long term for them to prosper and survive as a new, smaller company. And the key leader in that case is CEO Fritz Henderson, who, by the way, has been on the hot seat for the past 6 months, leading the company's effort to emerge from bankruptcy. At the same time, we're talking about a gentleman who has also led them through the largest bankruptcy in American history on an industrial basis, the largest U.S. bailout. Now, the key issue here is, can the company survive long term? I'd like to welcome Fritz Henderson. Fritz.
Hi, Greg. Morning.
Let's talk about Mark LaNeve first. Was that a decision by the board or by you that he should depart?
It was a decision by Mark. Mark approached me and indicated an interest in pursuing another alternative. I can't name the company, but it was a decision that Mark took, major contributor to the company over the course of the years, and you know, we accepted it, and we're going to move on.
Now, of course, boosting sales and market share are key concern of the company. You have a massive marketing campaign spending more on GM's existing 4 brands than the 8 brands previously. What kind of results are you getting from the marketing campaign thus far?
This is about the campaign, Greg, is about building consideration and purchase intent longer term. So in that sense, it's both a marathon and a sprint. The early indications in terms of consumer research, interest in our brands, click-throughs to our sites, configuring vehicles has been constructive and positive. It's early. This is something that we're going to stay on for quite some time because it's about changing consideration, which is not, you know, it's not a tactical program that's supposed to drive results in the second half of September or October. And but we've been pleased.
Now, one thing you also said in the conference call was that the most important thing we can have is business results. You won't have your first information out or financial results out until about a month. But do you think that you can break even in the fourth quarter of this year, since many people are forecasting that industry-wide sales will be 10 million light vehicles, which you say is a break-even level for you?
Well, we said that we're developing a plan, and we're going to execute a plan. We are executing a plan, excuse me, to get to a break-even in the North America market of 10 to 10.5 million vehicles. With about an 18.5% share. That assumes we complete the restructuring plan. One last important part of the restructuring plan, though, is post-retirement health care. Actually, we move away from that January 1st, 2010. So your supposition that the fourth quarter, you just got to be a little careful because we'll complete all the actions by 2010.
Okay, but you stated very clearly that at 10 million units light vehicles that you can be break even. You're forecasting, I think, 11.5 million light vehicles for 2010, correct? So you should be solidly in the black, at least on an operating basis, in 2010. Wouldn't that be correct?
That's how the math works. We'll have a chance to talk about it a bit more when we have the results for the third quarter.
You're confident you can hit those results and you can be solidly in the black?
Yeah, we're confident we're going to hit that break-even number, which means at 11.5 million unit industry, we got a chance of being in the black at an EBIT basis. Remember, earnings before interest and taxes, so we still got to pay interest.
That's right, because a GM official told me on June 1, the date that you filed for bankruptcy, that you would not be profitable on a net basis, on a net income gap basis, until you achieved industry-wide shipments of 12.5 to 13.5 million units. Correct?
Yeah, that was actually the viability plan we filed at the time of our bankruptcy, and that's still the case today.
Thank you. One thing, let's go back to this issue of consideration, which you're trying to get a rising number of Americans to consider buying a General Motors car. When you look at the numbers from J.D. Power between 2003, and 2008, it shows a dramatic decline in the percentage of American consumers willing to buy or consider buying a GM car, and then virtually each of the major 4 brands that you still have, including Chevrolet, which is your core brand. Those are stunning numbers that have come out.
True. If you look at 03 to 08, but you know, either learn from history or you're destined to relive it. And in this case, I think we know what we need to do in terms of product execution, in terms of marketing and branding, in terms of focus and emphasis on launch vehicles, what we need to do with our retailers to create a world-class retail experience. And it's our job to arrest that rate of decline. Yes, it's a challenge. It's probably the biggest challenge we have, but it's one that we're very happy taking on because we think we have the ingredients to be able to address it.
Fritz, my colleague Margaret, Brennan would like to ask you a few questions.
Sure. Hi, Margaret.
Hey, Fritz. Thanks so much for making time for us.
No problem.
You've said you plan to IPO by next year. When next year?
It would be we'll be ready to go in the second half. As I look at it, there's three things. One is business performance, which is the most important thing. We need to perform. The second is being ready, and we'll be ready to go in the second half in terms of getting our filings done and having the fresh start accounting, all the various things we need to do to be ready. And the third, obviously, will be a function of what the market looks like at that time in terms of the stock market, equity markets. But we'll be ready to go in the second half of next year.
Now, you said in the quarter past, GM owned about 12% of the global market. What areas of vibrancy are you seeing if we already can presume that the United States is somewhat weak?
China's I think the seasonally adjusted annual rate in China in the month of September was 16 million units. China market this year is going to be over 11 million units. It's going to surpass the United States for the wrong reasons. I mean, the one good part is it's growing. We just don't, I mean, the U.S. market at 10 million is the lowest level since post-World War II per capita adjusted. I think the China market's very strong. Our market share is 13.8% in total with Buick, Chevrolet, the Wuling brand. It's all of our volume in China. And so our growth this year, we have a chance to actually have volume in China this year of about 1.5 million vehicles across all the brands, including Wuling. And I mean, that's probably the single, the largest market for both growth as well as vibrancy in the globe, in the automotive industry today.
You've probably heard people somewhat tongue-in-cheek refer to GM as government motors rather than General Motors. How do you sell GM outside the U.S., given sort of the impression that has been around the world that there is still weakness within the automaker?
Well, we have a world-class board, Margaret. They're overseeing the company. Not only were those the words of the administration, the Treasury, that's exactly what they're doing. And so the board is holding us accountable. And I can just tell you that in terms of how we approach our business in Brazil, in China, in Europe, it's about making the right decision in the best interest of the company and performing in those markets. And it has not, I mean, I've seen a lot of it, but it has not been an issue. It's just not that important. What's important is, are we getting our products launched right? Are we taking care of customers? And can we win in the marketplace? And you see it written, but frankly, it's not relevant.
Fritz, Greg here. You indicated that you're ahead of plan, gaining more share perhaps than you expected and more sales in some foreign markets. Does that mean that maybe your recovery overall for the company might actually be accelerated a little faster than you anticipated because of what's going on abroad?
You're trying to accelerate our third quarter call, Greg. I think we like how the international businesses are performing. And it's not just China. Brazil has been strong. We've seen some strength in a number of other emerging markets. We'll have a chance to review it with you. But I think we're constructive, more than constructive, in some cases optimistic about emerging markets, particularly. The one emerging market that has had a tough year has been Russia. It's been very tough in Russia. But other emerging markets have been very strong, and we're well positioned in those markets.
Fritz, tell us specifically, what's the board telling you, let's say, your 2 or 3 top priorities are, and how are they interacting with you differently than the previous GM board?
Priorities would be moving fast, winning in the market, doing what's necessary to win in the market, launching our vehicles, putting the right marketing and advertising behind it, and performing. I mean, that's performing, getting results now, measuring ourselves, achieving accountability, changing the culture of the company. That's that's the kind of dialogue we have, which is exactly what you would want to have. That's what they're telling us to do. That's what they're pushing us to do. What's different? We're spending our time on how to win in the market and how to produce great business results instead of how to restructure the company. We have to finalize a lot of the actions that we've taken, which we intend to do this year. But more and more of board meetings, more and more of each of our days are about how do we win in the market.
All right. Thank you so much, Fritz Henderson, joining us live from Detroit, the CEO of General Motors.